Hey, I'm Ron.
Hi, Rachel. We are doing our introduction video, and the plan is to um, go from when we met to about where we are right now. Hopefully, in about an hour is what I'm thinking. It might go a little bit longer depending on the issues we talk about. But so I come from a military background. My father was in the military. I had a stepmother growing up that I wasn't very fond of. Um, and when I think I moved away from home when I was 16. I had married someone else. Weird circumstances. That person left me when I was a couple months pregnant, and I met Ron. And he actually adopted my first son, and his name is Ron also. Um, He was active duty military at the time, and we were at Fort Hood, Texas. Our relationship started out, I guess, like any other young couple. We struggled financially, especially being a military family. Um, I was 18 with an infant, and by the time I was 19, we had a second son. And the military lifestyle was on its way to be quite crazy and chaotic, actually. Um,
I could, I could add and for a why real quick. By the time we met, also, I had just come back from my first duty station after training. It was in Korea, and being an 18-year-old in Korea, fresh out of basic, at that time, I was allowed to purchase alcohol. So I started off I started right off the bat falling down the alcoholism trap. And by the time we met, which was shortly after I returned, months after I returned from Korea, I was already a full blown alcoholic, just to put that right there. So that led to financial problems and other problems along the way because of, you know, I wasn't ready. She was. It was like, okay, you go ahead.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. The alcohol definitely was an issue. I,
Huge,
yeah.
huge, huge.
Even the first night we met, and he was intoxicated. Um, I was kind of freaked out by it, but he was so quiet and mysterious. I I guess I just couldn't get enough. It was pretty awesome to have this kind of scary, quiet dude that would protect me from anything. He was quite aggressive when he wanted to tell somebody to leave me alone, for one thing, or somebody did something or said something wrong to me. He was very protective, and as a young girl, actually, I was not a woman, but as a young girl, I was fascinated by it, and extremely attracted to that. I wanted someone to guard me and protect me. Uh,
In that protective, not possessive.
yeah.
I didn't have that trait or that issue of being possessive of her. So I wouldn't want the wrong image to be put in the mind of that I was an alcoholic, possessive,
Oh yeah, he
overprotective,
wasn't
overbearing. It
jealous or
wasn't like
anything
that.
like that.
But I
It was
was
just
protective of her because I
protective.
did love her, filling a void in my heart. It's okay. Sorry. I just want to make sure that you know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah. Um, yeah, he was never jealous or bossy or a lot of people, especially in the military when I was young, a lot of women were married to men, it seemed, that would um, run their household the same way that they behaved at work in the military. And they would check their kids' rooms with white gloves, and the children weren't allowed to do anything. The wife had to stay home. She had to cook. She had to. I I never had anyone. He never bossed me around or told me I couldn't do something. I'm definitely not that kind of person anyway. You tell me I can't. Even now. I'm going to prove you wrong that I can do it. So that's just my personality, I suppose. I don't like to be told by anyone what I can and can't do. It's just who I am. So uh, that never played a role. I, on the other hand, was very jealous and possessive, and he's mine and don't look at him. wow, all you women that are out there that think everybody wants your man, I don't think they want him. I acted like a butthole for a long time. We stayed at Fort Hood for a few years together. Ron decided that he was going to actually get out of the military and try to become a police officer in Michigan, where he had grown up. And I think you took a test online, or you actually came home on leave and did it, and then had an actual interview. So he decided that he was going to get out. That was a pretty stressful time. He did actually get out. We came all the way to Michigan, and because of equality, even though he was the highest qualified applicant, they didn't have enough others, so the others got hired. That's the only way I'm going to put that. It was the equality thing. And he didn't get that job, which I think caused a little bit of maybe depression in me, anxiety, scared for what we were going to do. I thought he had a plan, and that didn't work out for us. So he ended up working at a factory for the short time that he was out, still drinking heavily, working third shift. I didn't see him much, and we were in Michigan, and we came from Texas to Michigan, and there was snow everywhere, and I hated it. His mom and I kind of clashed a little bit. We lived with them for a short time, and then we rented a house right behind them. She's a little antisocial because of things she's dealt with in her life, and I wanted a mommy. And of course, his poor mom was like, you're a little overbearing. I wanted her to be my mom, and she just wanted me to leave her alone a little bit. But we've definitely worked through our things. I've always loved her. We all have our own little quirks that make us kind of get on each other's nerves, but she's an amazing person, and she was an amazing mother to my husband, regardless of what he did on his own. It definitely was of no fault of hers.
I agree.
Well, we ended up having to get back in. Issues like my son Damien got sick at one point, and we had to take him to the doctor he had an ear infection or something, and I think the antibiotics were $75 they were charging us because my son had an ear infection. That was really stressful because coming from the military lifestyle, yay, free medical care, housing, all those things. So at that point, we didn't know about things that we should have known about as parents, but
like nothing.
We didn't know, so I tried to convince Ron, and I did. Oh, don't you miss the military? Don't you miss drinking with your buddies? Don't you miss having barbecues on the weekends? And everything that would appeal to him about the military and the having friends over and all this kind of thing. And really, I was scared because I missed going to the commissary and having a house full of groceries, and I miss being able to get Christmas gifts. That's a joke now, but Christmas gifts for the children, and free hospital visits, not stressing out whether or not we could pay for the medication for one of our children. That was a big issue for me because they were very young. And so he did get back in. He only stayed out 8 months, which they didn't take any time away from time and service for that.
And just so, on this point, it wasn't her that talked me into it, because during this whole time when the police officer thing was another childhood fantasy of mine. The soldier and the police officer thing, those were images I had in my head since I could remember, back best I can sift through. So when the police officer thing didn't work, it wasn't really that she talked me back into it, because I was on the verge of going back anyway, because it kept just playing through my mind, my fractured mind, because I truly at that time loved what I did in the Army. When I got out, I was getting out to go do like another, childhood fantasy dream job type of thing or profession and see how that was. But yeah, when that fell through, I was gonna end up going back anyway. I know it, unless I would have healed then, which I didn't. So, and I truly loved what I did. I was all about it, and I was all about being a protector, protect the country, and all these things. So, yeah, it's not like she snaked me into going back in, you know, or talked me into something I didn't want to do. Just to be clear on that. So,
Yeah, that was my goal though when I was bringing those things up. I knew he kind of wanted to anyway, but so the adventure began with going back in, and goodness gracious, that trip down to Georgia from Michigan. Lots of signs there that told us no, turn around and go back. We just didn't pay any attention to them.
devil went down to Georgia.
Yeah.
Maybe the devil was waiting in Georgia.
I don't know, but
Something
it was crazy. So we went back. We got stationed at Fort Stewart. Actually ended up stuck. A lot of people like to call it Fort Stuck because you get stuck there for a long period of time. We were actually there for 10 years. And I have to say it was probably the 10 worst years of my life. Besides the fact that I had two beautiful boys to try and raise, even though I wasn't even really an adult myself. And then fully unaware that I was about to embark on something crazy, which was also pretty much being a single parent, because not long after we got to Fort Stewart, Ron still was drinking heavily, very happy to be back in the military, doing very well actually with his career. People admired him, looked up to him, and that was awesome. Home life was not so great. He drank way too much. I had two small children, and they were a handful. My children were vaccinated, and I didn't quite realize that all the problems I had as a parent were because my children were damaged by vaccines, and I did not know it. So they were very hyperactive. They had constant earaches. They had constant, I went to the doctor every time. The military, the doctor's free. So every time a child had a fever, I rushed right to the ER, no matter what was happening. They were coughing too much. They said their stomach hurt. They stubbed their toe. Literally, I took them to the hospital for everything because we were in the military. It's free. Didn't know that we were guinea pigs either, but
more chemicals waiting.
yeah, my children have probably had just about every medication you can think of, every antibiotic, every single
unnatural thing.
Yeah,
Like,
everything.
yeah.
We've all been on so many different medications at one time for a number of ailments. Some medications to counteract side effects from the first medications. It's just, oh, let's try this. This is a new drug out. Let's just try it. I think the military families get to the crap end of it because everything gets tried out on us, and it causes a lot of negative health effects we have since figured out.
And the damage has since been well out to everyone else, and that's what everyone seems to, I don't like using those terms, but that's what's going on right now. You have brokenness on that kind of scale. So
yeah, if anyone gets offended, I apologize, but I do know that I know military families, spouses, and their children who have had severe issues also from things that the military hospital has given them. They just haven't realized it yet that it's been caused.
So for me too, apologies,
Yeah.
but really the truth
It's
of
the
this
truth,
is
and
offensive,
we have to
and it
say
really
it,
is
yeah.
offensive once you see and know that what's being
Yeah.
said is the truth. So yeah, it's not to cause hurt feelings or hurt emotions or
Yes.
offense, but the truth really is offensive of
What's been done to everyone.
where I grew up,
mean,
where I think most of us grew up. So sorry to take it, but
Oh, yeah, that's okay. So the children were,
the medicines and the
young and medication. My children were very hyper. I didn't get much sleep. I lived with an alcoholic, and I didn't sleep much. I cleaned at night and had my own peace of mind, because if I didn't stay up at night, I didn't ever have any mental clarity for myself. The boys were very hyper, and then when he would come home from work, I always made dinner. We had really good meals. For what I thought were meals back then, but I made dinner every night. I baked for my children. I tried to do things the best that I knew how. I didn't realize that I was feeding them a bunch of sugar either. I thought, oh, I'm buying my kids yogurt. It's healthy, fruits. And I picked up a Trix yogurt one time and realized that this tiny little cup of yogurt had 32 grams of sugar in it. And I was like, well, okay. They're acting crazy because I'm giving them sugar. So I started switching to things that said sugar-free, which is aspartame, which causes ADHD-like symptoms. I did not know this back then. So we spent a long time buying things with aspartame in them and feeding them to my children because I thought, oh, they don't need that sugar. It's not good for them. That's just part of things that we've learned. But I really was, as a parent, trying to do the right thing and not have my children put on pharmaceuticals. It just wasn't something I agreed with. Shortly after moving back to Fort Stewart, I want to say a year and a half or 2 years, 9/11 happened. I could go through the whole day. I remember every single thing about it, being on a military base. I rushed right off post to, as soon as the first plane hit and there was something going on, I just had a feeling for some reason. Yeah. but as soon as there was a building on fire, I decided right then, for some reason, I knew that I needed to get off post and pick up my oldest son from preschool. I just had a weird feeling, and I did that. I went right off base, picked up my son, and came back on base. And by that time, the TVs were going crazy, and the military wives were calling, oh my God, they're going to war. And I just kept saying, honey, it's going to be okay. They got to come get their stuff first, you know, like they got to come get their stuff before anybody goes anywhere. So just kind of sat around. That day definitely changed the dynamic for, I have to say, every military family, every soldier that was in the system at that time. Life changed completely. The soldiers ended up even having to get way more vaccines than they did before. New deployments, all kinds of things. Families completely separated. I don't even know how to describe that feeling of being married to someone who's an alcoholic and kind of annoying, and this person's very excited. Yay, we're going to go kick some butt. And your children are scared their dad's going to die. We have little cards that my boys wrote to him, and they drew pictures of him shooting bad guys and telling Daddy, please don't die over there. Those kinds of things are awful. It's awful that we ever even had to talk to our children about things like that because, well, they just shouldn't go on in the first place. But the first deployment, and I believe they started giving the soldiers different medications to prepare them for deployment. Take this pill, take that pill, take this vaccine, this flu mist up your nose, all these things that they do to them while they're transitioning, coming home from a deployment or going to one. Those things caused a mental disruption in my spouse. It was almost like right before every deployment he would change. And it was after the so-called, what is that thing called, where you're getting ready and you have to go and sign all the papers and get your shots and...
SRP.
Okay, it's where they go get ready. That's all I knew about it. But
big packet of information, all updated, all shots updated, all legal crap updated. It's this whole thing.
Getting them ready, making sure their teeth are taken care of and they're deployable still or not non-deployable because they got a cavity. Go get it filled right now so you can go fight some bad guys. Well... when he would get these shots and take these pills and get ready, it was almost like he was putting himself in this mental weirdness. And so you add alcohol on top of this mental weirdness that he had, and it was the darkest thing I'd ever seen in my life, and it was scary. He would sit sometimes in the dark and talk about how he didn't want to be there. And I was young, and I kind of would get fed up at times and be like, what the hell's wrong with you? Don't you love your kids? Don't you love us? What's wrong with you? And he would just be like, I just don't care about anything. And he'd be sitting in the dark, and he would sit alone like that quite often. Awake in the middle of the night, just sitting in the dark. And sometimes this would go on for weeks before a deployment and after a deployment. There was a lot of fighting and screaming and stuff that went on during these times too, which was awful. It was absolutely terrible for both of us. I left him a couple of times. We actually got divorced twice. I dated other people. That didn't work out too well either, because I loved him. I've loved him since I was 17, and I didn't want to be away from him, no matter how broken he was. I wanted to keep him alive, and I felt like if I wasn't there to watch over him, that he wouldn't be here, and I couldn't fathom that thought at all. So I also avoided my own family. For 20 years, I didn't speak to my own family, partially out of shame. I was ashamed of the life I was living. I didn't want them to know that I lived with an alcoholic who abused me. They knew it anyway. They met him. They knew. But I was still ashamed, and I played the blame game and blamed everyone else, and no, my life is just fine. It really wasn't. I can't say that it was awful all the time. The boys had a great childhood. I made good friends. They had good friends. They ran in the neighborhood and played with others, and they made a lot of good friends, I think, at different places we were at. Our youngest son, I think he caught the brunt end of the fighting, and he never got to have an actual bond with his father. By the time he was old enough to walk and talk, he was very, very intoxicated and started his deployments. So out of the 18 years, Damien left at 17, but out of the 18 years that Ron was at home and Damien was at home, Ron was gone a total of 9 years of that. And that's just deployments, and I guess another duty station, Korea, would be one of those two, but still another year. One of his deployments was 18 months long. You can't really get to know your... 15,
12,
sorry.
15, 12.
It was 15 months, sorry, I thought it was 18.
12, 15, 12.
I mean, you can't really get to know your children as they're becoming young adults during that either. Really, by the time of his last deployment, I had my daughter. And he was gone almost the whole first year of her life. So she doesn't remember and didn't get to experience any of that stuff.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully she's not had to deal with those types of things. But I kept pushing through. The boys really didn't get to know their dad. And at the end of his career, he was a drunk lump. He didn't act crazy. He didn't do anything silly. He just sat on the chair and drank every night. That's all he did. He was a drunk lump. He played video games. He stared at the programming. I had back, spine problems, and listened to the doctors, and I was on medications that turned me into a zombie, I guess. Gabapentin. I was on morphine patches. I was on narcotics and then anti-nausea medication because the narcotics made me sick. I felt like I couldn't walk. I got to a point where I laid in bed all the time. My thyroid started to be dysfunctional from the Neurotins and all kinds of things that I was taking.
The nerve burning.
I went through 4 or 5 nerve burning surgeries in my spine to burn away the nerves from the area that was affected by the degenerative disc disease. cannabis cures that, by the way. I can do back bend now. I'm physically fit and I don't have any back pain. I get sore from time to time, but I don't have severe back pain. And I don't take any medications whatsoever for that. His drinking actually caused medical issues for him. He lost the lining of his stomach, esophagus, intestines completely gone. The lining was completely gone. He was on medications. They said he would be on for the rest of his life. He didn't care. He kept drinking. Broke my heart. It was horrible to watch. I probably said to him over and over again, I can't watch you kill yourself. And that's actually what he was doing. He kept saying to me that when he finally was done with the military, that he would quit drinking. He said he couldn't wait till the day that maybe he could smoke weed. Funny.
Because I had no
depth.
depth.
Yeah, he had no depth to himself. And really it was just if I can just get high. He still was thinking at the time that he just wanted an escape from reality because he really didn't know who he was. We know that now. I didn't then. I was just like, this man. He was just annoying quite often to me, honestly. But I love him, and he's always been very good to me, too, at the same time. So there's nobody that's had...
Well, not always meant to, but...
I saw the intention. I saw a goodness that a lot of people could not see. But yeah, we both had our faults. It's been a journey, that's for sure. So from Fort Stewart, we went to El Paso. That's when my daughter was born. And then we went to Fort Benning, Georgia, which is where the boys basically went to high school. And then left home from there. And his retirement was set to begin. And he was the drunken lump. Well, they lost his retirement packet quite a few times. It got misplaced somehow 6 different times. And a year and a half after he should have been retired, he was actually on the verge of a severe nervous breakdown. And he actually had it.
That's why they kept me there.
Yeah.
That's another story. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was all done intentionally. We know this for a fact. Well, we ended up in Michigan. Luckily, an old Army buddy had an opportunity for us and a home and some acreage. And I felt in my heart I never wanted to come back to Michigan because I didn't like the snow. But I felt in my heart that if he was in Michigan, because I was on the way out the door. The retirement was the last straw, and he wasn't changing. He was getting worse. Yeah, he was getting worse. It was the worst I've ever seen him. And not being abusive to any of us, just acting very frantic, paranoid, very psychotic. It was crazy. And so I knew that the only way to help, I took the opportunity in Michigan. Yes, let's go do this. I felt like if he goes home to where his mother is, where he grew up, maybe that will help him heal. I didn't know the craziness was about to come because we came to Michigan, and I want to say within a few months, he was still drinking a little bit. But once he stopped drinking and he stopped all of his medications at one time, everything, the antipsychotics, which that's kind of scary anyway because you send your brain into like a chemical, what the hell. So no alcohol after being an alcoholic for 20 years. And then he got his medical cannabis card, which you are allowed to do in the state of Michigan, even with the VA, as long as it's prescribed to you. And he actually, in my opinion, was overusing. It was just all day, every day, kind of like he was with the alcohol, but he was going a little crazy. In my opinion, he was talking so fast. He was going through his spiritual awakening, changing. I don't know how you want to call it, but he basically had found God. And
I'd say it's that, a combination of that and the mind control crumbling, so to speak, or programming. No joke. Just put it that simply.
Yeah.
So
basically, he was going in my opinion, what I saw physically was him going crazy. He would stay up 24 hours at a time.
I was a mess.
Sometimes 3 or 4 days. And he was in my face talking constantly. It was the most annoying thing. And he was talking about all these deep, deep things, you know, researching things. And I had tried to get him to look at the flat earth, and I've always been into aliens, giants, all kinds of things. I was the one in the household who got laughed at because I would come out and be like, oh my gosh, everybody's watching us. The government's doing this and this and this. And I kind of got laughed at, and I kept it to myself, I guess. But I did. I was really into those things, and was fascinated by them. And I knew that there was a reality somewhere behind that, that there was a truth being hidden from all of us. Like, I've always known that since I was in high school. I was, yeah, I had an incident with my father over a JFK paper that I wrote, and a teacher that was telling us to figure it out on our own, kind of letting us use our own minds. Wonderful teacher, by the way. I thought it was an amazing experience to have as a young person, and it's what opened my mind to start using my own brain to, hey, you know, I don't care what story they're telling. That's not how it looks to me. That's not right. So I've always kind of been a little bit on that side. Granted, I got completely duped by all the medical stuff. And with my children, I was so scared. Every time they got sick, I went right to a doctor. And I followed every single doctor's order to the T. A fever, went to the doctor. Things that should be cured naturally at home. I took my kids to the doctor to get a prescription every single time. It's horrible to think of the amount of toxins I allowed to go into my children's body.
We did, yes.
Yeah, he never even went to the hospital.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So that's how we got here. Once he started going through his changes, I actually got freaked out because I have a young daughter, and I left for a couple weeks because he just was freaking out. And I ended up coming back, actually not for the right reasons, but kind of, I guess. I came back because I was mad, because I was like, no, you gave me 20 years of shit, and now you're going to be this amazing person who's found God? Heck no. I get this part too. Like, if I had to deal with all the bad, I want the happily ever after type stuff too. So I figured I'd come tough it out, whatever was going on. At least I knew some of the things that he'd been looking into were, even though I didn't understand all of them, he was actually going through the legal stuff and straw man, all this crazy stuff. I didn't understand anything he was saying, nor had I ever looked at it. And actually, while he was going crazy and telling me all these things I needed to look up, I just kept saying, shut up, shut up, shut up, leave me alone, just shut up. But I was looking. I was actually looking at everything he was talking about. And some of the things I was just like, man, I told you that like 10 years ago, and you didn't listen to me. And so there was a lot of fighting and frustration back and forth, because he would actually get so emotional that he would cry over images at the TV, and the earth, the sun, the moon, flowers. I mean, and he would just sit there and cry. And I would look at him like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, you made me cry for 20 years. I don't feel sorry for you. Like, I don't care. Like, it really didn't affect me, all this emotion that was happening to him, because he'd done it before too, said he was going to quit drinking. He would cry and tell me he loved me. And that's how I always came back.
And I meant it. I meant it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I just didn't have the strength to actually do it. So I really wondered, was it real? Was he being genuine?
Yeah.
Was this just some kind of show? Was the cannabis making him act this way? I even called him a pothead quite a few times. I didn't understand the actual medical benefits that cannabis has as an actual medication that cures just about everything. I didn't understand that. So at one point on his journey, he decided he was going to eat nuts and seeds and just kind of stretch around the house. And I would just sit here and just watch him, just completely annoyed. I don't even know why. It was annoying. And all I'm known as a wife and a mother. Both my boys are gone now. And I just have my daughter. And he just walks around the house eating nuts and seeds and stretching. And won't watch a TV show. It's programming, all of it. You can't do this, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I felt completely overwhelmed. Like, so I'm just supposed to sit here and watch you eat nuts and seeds and stretch all day long. I was super annoyed. I actually spent a couple months in bed because then something started changing in me. And I got super depressed to the point where I was saying I didn't want to be here anymore. It was crazy, the amount of change. And I don't know how I came out of it. He came out of it. He just kind of started leaving me alone. And I slept for quite a bit. And then he started wanting to do things that he had never, ever wanted to do before. Because he was so antisocial. Like, let's go on a walk. Let's go on a hike. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And I was like, wow, what? You're taking me to dinner? You're doing this? We're going to do this? Ice skating. All these fun things. This was before we realized anything really serious about diet and stuff. So we were going, let's check out all these little hole-in-the-wall restaurants. Let's go hiking. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. We really were enjoying ourselves. He still, for the most part, was nuts and seeds. And we found a health food store. And he like nutrition bars. And he started just really wanting to get healthy, you could tell. The cannabis was doing something. He kept trying to convince me to use it, and I just, no. When I was a teenager, I did that, and my friends always made fun of me because it made me sleep. My friends always giggled because I was the one on the couch drooling on myself. So I was really nervous to use it at all. But still, over the years, I've never been a sleeper. I'll stay up all night long, only get a couple hours of sleep. But I was completely unhealthy. I had an addiction to soda and then sugar poured in my coffee after I finally got off the soda. Transitioning diet was really hard for me. He stopped eating meat, actually, and I was mad. Like, oh, you're doing this. This is going to be your way to get on my nerves now because I love cooking for you. And that's the only thing I'm good at is I make these big meals and make everybody happy. And now I can't make anything for you. The blame game was crazy. You're doing this on purpose, all this stuff. But
I was, but not for the reason you thought.
No, I know. I thought it was very intentionally just to have something
right
to piss me off.
Yeah.
You know, like you're just trying to make me mad. So fine then, I guess I won't cook for you, but I'm going to sit over here and eat this steak and potato and you can sit over there and eat your nuts and seeds. I was that like angry about it. Like I was really angry. Like I would slam pots around. There was some fighting and not so nice words said to each other. There was some dishes broken.
It was mostly one-sided fighting because by that point I was well past the fighting. That's why I wasn't eating meat and that's why I was crying when I was seeing things. So I was well past that point. She was fighting and I kept trying to just let her do it and just hope she could work through it because I knew no matter what I did, she was going to take it as an attack on her.
Yeah.
No matter what I said to try and convince her otherwise. No, this is for me because of something in me that I'm doing. And it's not like that. I'm trying to help you. No, I knew she was going to see it the other way because it was that inversion of perception. So, and all that other trauma and paying me back and all these other things. So
yeah,
right.
definitely got paid back during that short period of time because I was mad all the time. Like, fine, I just won't cook for you then. Right. And it was terrible. Well, you know, I started watching him and here he is lifting weights and he's got a six-pack and here I am, this big fat lump on the couch that keeps pouring sugar in my coffee. Okay, I'm going to give up soda. Oh, I'm going to do the vegetarian thing. I got into that. I really did. Good Lord help me. I was shoveling just bowls and bowls full of ice cream and cottage cheese and fried egg sandwiches. Holy cow. I mean, it was ridiculous. So I went crazy hardcore into the vegetarian thing, but basically ate only dairy.
So more like that weaponized vegan term, I guess, than vegetarian or plant-based. Those terms are weaponized.
No, vegetarian means you eat dairy and eggs.
Okay,
still.
gotcha.
That's
See,
why.
stupid terms.
See,
That's
he
why I say
doesn't know
plant-based.
those terms. I actually
Yeah,
know.
I broke the sorcery, so I don't fall for the labels anymore because they're too twisted. I keep it simple. Sorry, go ahead.
They are, but sometimes we got to use them to make other people understand what the heck
you.
we're talking about. So, yeah, I was eating the dairy and stuff. Then actually a friend of mine was talking to me. We were discussing health, and this is actually a friend of mine who tried to convince me several times that I needed to eat organic. She tried every fad diet that you can think of, juicing and all these things. And we had tried some things in the past, and it just never worked. I couldn't get the family to... You can't get someone who drinks beer and eats pork rinds and stuff to join you on a health mission. That's for sure. But so she told me to watch a documentary called Forks Over Knives. Now, I'm not saying every single thing in that documentary is correct or accurate. There's a lot of really good evidence and a 20-year study that very definitively proves that meat and dairy in humans and in mice causes disease, very definitively, over a 20-year period with these individuals studied. And as soon as I saw that, we had just gone shopping, and I was super excited. I had blocks and blocks of cheese and cottage cheese and milk, and this is when I started really doing some research at night on my own. I was staying up later and really just hardcore digging into everything, mostly the health stuff. And when I saw that documentary, he woke up the next morning, and I told him, I said, I watched this and we have to talk. I want you to watch this. And he was like, I don't even need to watch it. I'm on board no matter whatever it is you say, which was good that he had already gone through most things, because I was like, okay, we can't eat dairy anymore either. We need to be 100% plant-based. And he was like, I'm down. That's cool. I want to do it. This transition was very hard. At first, I was like, well, we'll just eat up the stuff that's in the fridge. But after watching that, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I could not eat those blocks of cheese. I couldn't crack the eggs for my chickens anymore. They were my chickens. I fed them. I watched them eat their own eggs. But something just grossed me out about it. I just couldn't do it anymore. Some things we still had in the cabinets that it said it had a small amount of egg in it. And according to the documentary, as long as you kept dairy products and even meat only about 2% of your diet, it didn't cause health effects. So that was kind of my excuse at first. Well, as long as it's a little bit, and it's not the majority of our diet, we can use up the things that we have. And we did some items we did. This transition was very hard for my daughter. This is a child that's been eating Pop-Tarts and, all things, poison, but things that children enjoy snacking on, and it was a different transition for her too. She used to eat burritos and all kinds, just crap I fed her. But she also enjoys fresh vegetables and fruits, and since she was a baby, she has had an issue with meat. She refused to eat it for the most part. She got the swine flu when she was about 15 months old, and she was hospitalized. She couldn't keep anything down. This flu hit her right after she had had a big giant pot of beef stew that I made homemade. I don't know if it was something in her mind, but ever since then, she would never eat a piece of meat that looked like where you could see that it was flesh. I did entice her to eat chicken nuggets and these burritos that had some hamburger in them, but she was not a meat eater. She would actually walk through the kitchen gagging every night while I cooked dinner, or she would hide in her room because she just knew. I think children just know. When I walk past the meat section in the grocery store now, I say I smell dead people because that's what it smells like. It's pretty gross. All of our health problems started to disappear once we went plant-based. And I actually started using cannabis. He finally convinced me. I had an injury at a job where, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds of dog food came off of a conveyor belt and slammed me into the pavement. So I was in a lot of pain, and that's when he convinced me to use the cannabis. He makes the oil, which is internal, which is totally different from smoking cannabis to get high. It is more of like a body relaxation, and it makes me sleep better than I've ever slept in my entire life. I sleep every night. I get up at 6 in the morning, and I feel like I'm 20 years old. It's amazing. So we have a healthy diet. All of my daughter's medical conditions have gone away. She was born premature. She had eczema. They said she had a weakened immune system. All of these things. Ron had cancerous polyps removed. So colon cancer stuff, heart disease, anxiety, all kinds of things. I had hyperthyroidism. There's just a long list. If I really dug out medical records, it would probably amaze people, the list of medical conditions, but all of which are completely gone.
Regeneration of bone, what did it say? Regeneration of bone, nerves.
My
brain,
last MRI shows,
tissues.
that I am gaining height in my L4, L5, which supposedly in the medical community is impossible, and that is because of cannabis. The diet, and probably the diet, a combination.
But especially that oil was. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, we've changed our diet. We have not had cable TV in 5 years. We live kind of out in the woods. My daughter is able to. She's homeschooled. She's able to run outside any time of the day that she wants to. I don't have to worry about people snatching her up. Now that she's not breathing in chemtrails, and there's bears and things out here, but I feel grateful to know that we have a different lifestyle now. I'm grateful that we're healthy. Mentally, spiritually, this has just been amazing. I don't even know what else to add, really. If there's stuff I've missed,
But we just want for others to be able to experience that, and that can only happen by coming to know these things that have happened to all of us. And I say that because she just said grateful for this, and like I said the same thing. I'm grateful too for having been given a chance to live a whole different life than I had lived. A full life that I didn't realize was missing. But, because it's not about me, or it's not about us, and we're doing this because we want others to experience it too, and that can only happen if really there's really mass awareness gained out there into what's really going on. What has happened is happening, and what's coming, because it's not good. So that's why we're saying it. So it's not to say, oh yeah, everything's so great for us and life is great, because no, right outside right now there's tons of chemicals that have dumped this chemical snow that's very, 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 very treacherous for anyone that knows how it is to drive on snow and ice. They should know by now, I would hope, that this is not regular snow and ice the way it instantly sticks and freezes like it does. It's so unnatural, and there's so many things folk need to look into. So that's really why we're sharing. Hopefully sharing in such a way as, maybe really so others can learn from our mistakes, really, to try and catch up as fast as they can, so maybe things can change.
Well, I was thinking too that maybe somebody, if people watching maybe have been through some of the things that we've been through, most couples that have alcoholism, abuse, military families, all these crazy things that have gone on. They normally don't end up together, or the cycles of what they're doing just continue repeatedly over and over and over again. And I'm hoping that it will help someone either realize that it's time to get out of a situation like that, or to do what you can together to fix it, because it is fixable. You just have to really learn how to speak to one another. And really, if you don't get healthy, it's almost like if you're toxic on the inside, that's what shows on the outside. I definitely did not know how to talk to others, and when I would get my feelings hurt, I instantly lashed out at everyone. F you and blah blah blah, you're a butthole, and it was pointing the finger at everyone else while spewing horrible crap out of my own mouth. Like, how can I expect someone to treat me with any dignity or respect if I'm just swearing at them? I had some abuse growing up, and in order not to be an abusive person, I thought, oh, I'll just scream and swear. I'll just scream and swear, and that's how I'm not being abusive. Holy cow! I was not a very nice person every time I got my feelings hurt, even by my my boys when they were younger, older, and they would laugh at me. I would say some hurtful things to them, just yell it at them. They would hurt my feelings, and then I would react like a child right back at them. I definitely had them way too young, and didn't raise them the best that I could have, but I did with the best that I knew how. And I think now that they're older, they understand that. We've had the opportunity to actually show them, express all of this to them, everything that we know that we did wrong. Hey, we did this wrong. This isn't right. This is how you should eat. This is how you should talk to each other. This is how you help one another. Hopefully we've given them everything we can now, and they know that all the mistakes that we made, we did not do intentionally, and we tried to make it right and give them all the best knowledge that we could now. We're definitely not a perfect family. We have our issues like anyone else. I still have days where I get irritated. Everybody just leave me alone. I'm going to sit in the bedroom and watch TV.
Not often.
It's not often.
I don't remember the last time
that I sat in there and watched TV. Yeah, it's months. It is. Maybe twice a year. I probably sit in the room all day long and watch some dumb show. Like, I prefer to watch older things. We watch Little House on the Prairie and things like that. It's all still programming. You can see it. It's kind of funny when you're aware of all these things going on, how you can kind of giggle at it. But
yeah, it's not funny. No, it's really not. It's not funny. It is sorcery. It is. I'm not joking. Yeah. It's not funny. Not to contradict you, but that is and actually that's something I was writing about, is contradiction. And I realized, yeah, that was a state I lived in my mind, is a state of contradiction, contradictory belief held in my mind. That's one of them. Little House on the Prairie is a good example. I watched that when I was young. My mother liked that show. I liked that show when I was young. So watching it here and now, yeah, it's supposed to, it has that nostalgic effect, but still it's contradictory for me to sit there and go, yes, I can sit here and enjoy this, knowing full well it's sorcery, that all of it from the networks was. And why is it sorcery? Because it's such a wholesome show? No, it's for the things you can't see. It's for the things you can't hear, or the things you are seeing and hearing that you can't discern with your physical senses, but you can feel it physically inside, and the mind is perceiving it, and it's pumping those false images in. Not to go on a whole long rant about that. I've talked about that kind of stuff before, but yeah, it's for real. That's why we don't. Well, I don't watch that stuff like that. I enjoy
watching TV. I got to hear that every time I do, but.
Not every time, but sometimes. But it doesn't happen often. So.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen often.
At first, during that process of transition, though, like when she was still watching things and I wouldn't, that was one of those, like she said, points of contention there, because that was something we used to do. sit and stare at the television set together. And yeah, when I stopped doing it, she'd get angry at me, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because it was physically and mentally painful at one point for me, to where I realized, oh, this what this is and what this stuff is doing. And yeah.
Oh, well, the things that I enjoyed watching too were absolutely terrible.
Me too. That was the problem.
Yeah, he watched crazy stuff.
Dark stuff.
And so did I, in a way, but it was true stories. So I watched those murder mystery ID channel type things. Fear programming. And that's exactly what it did to me. I thought every neighbor may have a secret wish to kill somebody. I thought everybody out there was... I was scared of people. I avoided people. I acted defensively towards anyone that even looked at me funny. And I watched those faithfully. Like, and who the bleep did I marry? Stories about people marrying people that turned out to be other people, or people that turned out to be murderers. The neighbors ended up being murderers. And I was like, I would say to him all the time, so if they can run these murder shows 24 hours a day, that means people are out murdering 24 hours a day. Like, and I would sit there and go through these things in my mind. And I was scared all the time. My middle son, I never even let him have a sleepover until he was 12. I didn't let him go anywhere. I was so overprotective of them that I may have held them back from some things. And it was because of that programming. I was being programmed to keep my children prisoner because I was so scared of everything. And I still have, I'm paranoid for different reasons now, of course, because the public, the food, now
those things in your heart.
Human trafficking. Yeah. I mean, these things are really going on. And I have a daughter now, the last one of our children at home, and those things are scary to me. I have made a big difference. I think with her, I try to be not as paranoid and scared over things. I wouldn't even let the boys cook. So my poor children learned how to cook in a microwave because they were so hyperactive and so disconnected all the time. They just walk in the room and punch each other for no reason. And I just... if you aren't smart enough to not punch your brother in the face, then you definitely aren't turning on the stove. That's kind of how I looked at it. That's sad, though, that I didn't stop them from that behavior. I just didn't teach them something else because of it. Because I was disconnected also. Otherwise, I would have corrected their behavior and engaged with them and taught them how to prepare meals and things. And I'm grateful that I got the chance to... show my oldest son, and Damien was here for a while. I got to show them how to actually cook and prepare some meals the right way without a microwave, because those things are dangerous and they emit radiation even when not in use, just plugged in. So that's not good.
Consuming anything that's irradiated is not good.
Yeah, because every bit of nutrients that would have been even in broccoli or anything like that has been radiated. So it doesn't even taste the same. Thinking about it now, but and thinking back on how many times my children stood in front of the microwave counting down 10, 9, 8, and they were getting irradiated right in their face and in their head. And I wondered why they walked in the room and punched each other. Well, it's because they were being irradiated. They'd been vaccinated. I had them full of pharmaceuticals. And in front of a video game 24 hours a day. I thought that if they played video games, then I wouldn't have to worry about girls or them doing things younger than they should be doing them, when in reality they were probably learning awful things on video games, and the people that were on there talking with them also.
Definitely. So, and I started with that one early when I was young. I've taught about that before. And yep, that's a heck of a form of sorcery there too, that you can interact with interactively while you sit there and play and consume whatever's on the screen. And it's a powerful desensitization tool for violence and to take part in violence and imaginary violence, but still, that's the point. They want you to constantly see and imagine violence and to take part virtually or digitally all you want, because eventually that violence spills out into the physical, and that's what we're seeing happen now.
Yeah.
With all the toxins folks are full of, with all these frequencies at the level they're being propagated right now to destroy the public's consciousness and sleep cycles. I mean, it's bad. It's bad, and folk got to get themselves cleaned out and really stop, cut off from the programming and those images that will keep replaying in the mind until you can get them out. It's important. Get those images out and get some images, real imagery in the mind of nature and what's going on in nature is it's being destroyed. And then maybe some imagery of your own nature and what your nature is and what you're made of, because it's not these names, labels, titles, people, person, human, like a human of what hue. That would bring human, hue, H-U-E, hue brings color to mind. Color, well, it's not about a color because this isn't a race. It's about mankind, womankind. It's about our species, knowing that we're more than what we were taught. So yeah, I don't want to go too far. Sorry. I want to put that in about the sorcery. And then I just...
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of things going on, which I'm sure that we will have. I'm hoping we can openly discuss together. Maybe people can see how we discuss some of these things. We watch folks on YouTube. We actually have learned a lot from other people's channels, and
yes, and thank you
for that. Yes,
who are doing this work and have been for far longer than I knew it was going on. Thank you.
Yes, we've learned a lot from others' research. Of course, we've done a lot of digging on our own, and check and verify, and maybe even look at some things from our own perspective, because sometimes you need your own perspective on some of these things.
Always.
You're not always going to see it the same as others, but learning from them has been beneficial to us for sure. We're hoping that our channel and us discussing some of these topics can maybe help people who are transitioning, learning some of these things, just finding out, and they have a significant other that they maybe want to talk to, because it's hard to go through it alone. And we kind of did it separately, but in the same house, and boy, was it not fun. He was going through it, then I was going through it. It was kind of this back and forth for a little while of just not getting along. And there was points where I'm leaving, I'm never coming back, you're too annoying, or I can't handle this. And really, if there's genuine love there, there's no reason to give up on someone. It's well worth the struggle to have your partner by your side. I want to make that very clear. As hard as the struggle can get, even when you're not getting along or not seeing things eye to eye, it is worth it. It is, even if you spend countless hours in separate rooms, which we did, months we spent like that. It's still worth it, because even in separate rooms, you're going in deep. You're reflecting on all of your feelings, even the anger towards the other person at moments, or love, or just whatever you're going through. You still have to reflect on it inside yourself, even if you're spending more time apart. But I think it's worth it to, when you come out of whatever darkness you come out of, to have them right there with you to discuss all of these things and go through it together.
Maybe depending on the situations.
Yeah, I guess it does depend on every couple, but I'm hoping we can help someone. Maybe even listening to us talk will help someone figure out a way. Yeah.
A lot of others are on the same bumpy road right now, trying to get through to each other, figuring out how, or their family. And yeah, maybe this can give an example of, a couple that's been through that real bumpy part, and we're on this side of it. So maybe this can, serve as some kind of help for someone.
We do have to remember that all these things that are coming to light are meant to divide us as families, as couples.
From within ourselves first.
Yeah.
And then from everyone around.
And I think we just can't let that divide us. I think that we have to stick together and do for one another. That's hopefully what we're doing with these videos, is trying to just have open discussions and let people join in on it if they want. Maybe this video will help someone talk out what they've been through, because revisiting the things that we've been through, even times when we've hurt each other the most, we've spent countless nights crying together.
And that was important.
It was very important.
Some of the most important.
To actually openly admit, I did you so wrong at this point. When this and this happened, I was wrong, and
From
I'm
a
sorry.
place of feeling it and knowing
Yes,
it
and just
expressing it. That is so profoundly healing, though it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
But it's important. It really is.
It's very important. We've cried about the children being vaccinated. We've cried.
All kinds of things.
We've giggled about some memories and thought to ourselves, how were we so stupid? Like, how did we make it here? We say that one quite often. Like, how were we even alive? Like, how did we make it here? How did, I don't know. It's been a ride. The last few years have been the best for us as a couple. For sure, we've never been as close as we are now.
I didn't know myself before a few years ago, so yeah, and I couldn't. Yeah, that was part of it we talked about before.
Yeah.
I don't interrupt. But yeah, I agree. Want that for others. For each, because that's the thing. Each inside can get to that place inside, because it's not about a partner either. It's about you not needing a partner first.
Yeah.
And getting that place inside yourself to where you're so just content and secure in yourself and what you see and perceive and what you know, and know that there is more, and you're connected to much, much more. And once you feel that and know that, having a partner that's in that similar state, that's magical. It is. And it's from a place of the heart, not the mind, trying to use each other and feed off each other in a negative way. It's heart to heart, mind to mind, and it's magical. But the magic has to start with the man or woman inside them fully coming to know themselves, and the much more, whatever they need to find to feel it. Because when you don't need words anymore, and it's that clear and coherent inside you, that you're going to go on after this physical body, and you know it. And you know things are important while you're in this physical body to pay attention and do them, maybe, and reflect on things. And you'll know it when you feel it, I'd say. And it's important to get there inside for each. And together.
Yeah.
And together. Man.
Yeah. I guess, only other thing I can say, I have been asked by some crazy family members, because we don't watch cable and all this stuff all the time. Like, well, what do you do all day? We're in Michigan, so the winter kind of sucks. But I am very big into crafting. I craft, I bake, I cook, and most everything I make is from scratch. I just made a plant-based spice cake tonight. It was absolutely delicious. I can't wait to eat some more of it. I love cooking.
Maybe videos on it.
Huh?
Maybe videos in the future on.
Oh yeah, I guess we'll probably be doing some more of these discussion videos.
I mean, on the cooking too.
Oh yeah, maybe I could do some of my plant-based recipes. I've been really enjoying finding recipes, tweaking them to my own. There's a lot of textures and flavors some of us don't like, so I've had to learn how to work around that, and it's actually been fun. I feel like I've learned how to cook all over again. It's been pretty amazing. When I went to visit my family, my dad taught me some pretty awesome stuff. I have reconnected with my family, which has filled my soul. I'll start crying if I talk about that too much, but I'm so grateful to have my family back. It's that one, That one gets me, but I'm very happy to have my family. I do love crafting, and I love cats. The running joke can be I'm the crazy cat lady because I do have 7 of them. One of them just came back from the vet. Actually gave me a scare. Too much calcium type stuff in his diet, so he's got to be on a special diet. He had some kidney stones and stuff, but he's doing really good. And yeah, I have 7 cats. I'm not sure if you guys want to meet all of them, but my cats, my dogs, I enjoy spending time with them. People think that's kind of odd, but my husband can tell you I do definitely actually spend one-on-one time with each individual animal and pet them and talk to them every day. I have a routine. I get up and talk to them in the mornings. I love them, and I think I love that they love me unconditionally, which a lot of humans out there have forgotten how to do. So they are my friends. Ron has hobbies. I don't know. What are your hobbies?
This really has become my hobby. Like ever since, I went through my phase of.
It's a cat.
I won't get into the whole thing, but really, after I went through that whole process of really growing up inside and looking at the world different, looking at myself differently after I went through all this and got to this place to where I finally felt like I was, I guess, I could truly call myself an adult that had found some, I don't know. Really, my hobby has become this, to go deeper and deeper, best I could, to make things clear, more simple, more concise. Any little thing as I observed it or perceived it or felt it, just so I could put it to words and voice it to try and help others. And while at the same time, just kind of watching what's going on out there and taking in information wherever I can find it, and really just, I don't know, like leaving comments around all over the place. So yeah, some folks probably find my comments on their videos and like, who the heck is this leaving a text wall on here? Well, yeah, it's just because I'm leaving just words, sharing thoughts and feelings around different places. And even if it's a place or a video that has really, I mean, it's nothing but the materialistic, narcissistic, or this, that, or the other. It doesn't matter, really, at this point to me. I just trying to share some words wherever I can, when I can, I guess, the best I can, while I can. And really, I have no other hobby than that. Like, that's enough to where I don't really need a distraction. Because, I guess there's so much going on. And in the meantime, in between time, it's just us talking and just, I don't know, just living life moment to moment.
I think for the last couple of years, too, you kind of spent a lot of focus on helping to educate the boys, our boys, with this information.
Tried to do that,
with one, but one of them was here for a while and actually, I think, took in a lot. And he's doing his own thing, and he's making music and putting out videos of his own, and he is doing an amazing job, and has a son now. And the other one, I think he took some of it in. I'm not sure if he's taken it to heart yet, but I think he's at least trying. We're hopeful for him, and I think everything's gonna work out. I just have faith in that, and that we've done the right thing by giving them both the information that we could to
trying to correct the damage.
Correct the damage that we've caused, and he's done a really good job trying to express to them that he did wrong and was gone a lot for their childhood, and give them the best fatherly advice that he could now. So that's how it's gone with the boys. They're grown and on their own now, and we just have one here she's 11. I think I said 10 in the last video. She got upset. She's 11. She just turned 11, so that's important.
In 9 months.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
From conception, the whole birth. I won't go there. I won't keep it.
That'd be
I think
another
we're
video.
wrapping it up, aren't we?
Yep. I think this should be pretty good for an introduction video. If anybody has any questions, I guess they can just leave it in the comments. Maybe we can premiere this one and I can sit in the chat again, or however, in case anyone has any questions, I can be there to answer some.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right then. Well, I appreciate anyone's kind attention that sat through this long, or any at all. Which, if you're already gone, you won't hear this, but we appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Feel free to share, do whatever you might like with it.
Thank you.
All right.